I grew up in the 80s watching very bad videos on MTV that's really informed a lot of like, if I could paint the world,
Yeah.
it would be like those videos that were shot in like black box theaters.
Oh man.
With like the slabs for a set, and like it'd be a kitchen, but it would just be like a table, and like a fridge, and then that's the kitchen, like that's what I want to do. It's always what I want to do.
Talk more about the 80s palette, because to me it means everybody felt like they were living in the future. Coming out of 1979, which made me 7 or 8 years old, it was like keenly like it was like it's 1980 now. Nothing will ever sound more like robots and computers.
1980.
And we literally invented computers like at that dawn. And so it was like everyone was like, there was no shame, there was no question about like, oh,
futurism.
Yeah,
we're just gonna do futurism now, every day.
Like shoelaces are allowed to be questioned. Mm-hmm. Why isn't this Velcro?
Right. And there's no answer why it wasn't.
No. Why did we go back? My theory, we put our foot into a future shoe and we felt shame.
Oh, man.
We knew that we were cavemen and we didn't deserve Velcro shoes.
I wore Velcro shoes for one solid phase as an adult. They just don't have enough styles that I found.
But they theoretically they would if Velcro worked as good as a shoelace.
Does
supposedly?
It? I don't.
But I think Velcro wears out. Maybe
it gets all grimy.
It gets little dingleberries.
Yeah, that's disgusting. That's what happens too.
So I get because it's a zero-sum game with Velcro. You have command strips you can order on Amazon. If your Velcro on your shoes was that strong, you wouldn't be able to untie your shoes sometimes.
Yeah.
Your shoe would be like, I'm staying on your foot.
That's not what we want.
There would be urban legends about women losing their feet.
That'd be bad. So this is an interview. Kinda, right? But look, this is the first episode of the relaunch of my podcast. And I know I used to just do one of those, like, I'm just biting Mark Maron podcasts. I had Mark Maron on it and shit and just bit Mark Maron, talking to Mark Maron. You know what I mean? Like,
sure.
It's very meta. But I know I don't want to do that exactly anymore, but I don't know exactly what I want to do instead.
Am I here at the
I'm gonna figure
your
it out
crossroads?
I'm going to figure it out right now.
I've never been under more pressure to do less. Jesus Christ, I better keep my hands off of this.
I think I just want to find feeling space. That's what I think I want to do.
I love you, Mike.
And Dan, that's why I thought this would be good.
You're a lateral thinker, man. Like
I don't even really know what that means.
Well, it good, because that's what it means.
How did you make me feel reassured and more confused at the same time?
Like, say the same right back at you. You're the only man that will ever produce a rap album with me.
Why did we do that?
I don't know.
You don't know.
Exactly.
As far as I know, it was your idea.
As far as I know, it was my idea as well. I don't blame you, but I like, my experience with you was like, you're just fucking zen. Like, you're not zen. Zen's an overused word. You're Tao, which is like water, just content with the lowest of places, flowing through the path of least resistance is a phrase that we use to connotate like bad shit.
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh, you're not American if you're lazy, or you're cowardly if you do what's easy. That's not the same as path of least resistance, where you flow with like, you're content with what's going on in the room.
Do you get down with astrology?
I can.
I'm very, like, I used to be very for it. Now I'm very against it.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm very against it. I think I saw something happen after Trump got elected.
Okay.
Where, like, everybody in my world got way too into their zodiac sign. Like, it's some sort of retreat. And it just really upset me. Because I felt like it was something people were taking, like, the proper amount of serious.
Yeah.
And then people started taking it way too serious, and it just started pissing me off.
I do have a take on that now that you put it in the same bin as 2016, which is maybe maybe white people need to get more into astrology because if you're a Capricorn, so is a black person. And how because what have we seen? Oh, it's the danger of what you don't want is white people taking up being white as a hobby.
Oh my God.
And like looking at that as a thing to belong to.
What about zodiac race wars? What would that be like? What if
all the Sagittariuses are like, you will not replace us?
Oh my God. What if people were like really like, I don't know, like triggered based on their zodiac, like based on stereotypes of their zodiac? People just like got mad.
My experience with the zodiac, and I want to hear how you kind of like. I still want to hear how you turn negative on it, because I'm going to repeat something that's one of those things where I'm kind of sick of hearing myself explain it, but I also think it's important, which is like I dated a girl a million years ago who was so into astrology, and my experience through her eyes was, oh, this is it. Any model of the universe that suggests that people are what they are can be super healthy. My girlfriend, if someone spilled a drink on her at a party, she would be like, that's such a Virgo thing for him to do.
Oh my goodness.
Instead of her being so upset.
Instead of taking it personally.
Instead of taking it personally. It was like, oh, she would say to people like, what's your sign, as a entree to conversation, and 90% of the guys that I would witness her do that with would have some smug reaction like, what do you think my sign is? And she would say, that's such a Sagittarius response, and then they'd 1/12 of the time go, holy shit. And then 11/12 of the time they go, wrong, I'm a Capricorn. And she'd say, exactly.
Oh,
whatever.
wow.
But it's like the bottom line was that according to her religion, you're one of 12 flavors of people.
Right.
And that flavor has to do with where the moon was when your mama popped.
Right. Which is the part that I try to think about these things. Like what would that mean for a person if Mars was in a certain place when they came out of the vagina of their mother a week earlier than they were supposed to?
Definitely doesn't hold up to any science. Because
and
what if I was born in Australia? What if I was born by cesarean?
I was born cesarean. I just remember that. Next time somebody asks me for my chart, I'm gonna make sure I tell them that. Like, I was an emergency.
Have you heard that there's a mellowness to cesarean people?
No.
I have.
What does that? What was it based on?
Some assholes like observation.
Okay, so this is like the 13th zodiac is this cesarean.
No,
section.
but I will say, like, somebody said I was born by cesarean, and they say like that's why I'm so mellow. I can't remember who it was,
That's
but
just a strange. See, I don't. I guess my big problem with the zodiac stuff was that I used to be I'm a Scorpio, and I feel like I used to dive really deep into this image of a Scorpio. I felt like very connected to it, and I felt like it would explain shit in my life.
it explains your gold chain. You're wearing a gold chain.
Yes, as all Scorpios
That seems a
do.
Scorpio.
I used to have when I was a little kid, when I was like 7 years old, I had a chain just like this with a fucking gold Scorpio medallion on it. It was the pimpest shit a child ever wore.
It's the 80s shit too.
It is. And I think that's probably why, it impressed itself so much on me, because I was so fucking fly as a child with my scorpion on my chest like a superhero.
Yes.
It was amazing.
I got a goat.
You got a goat.
Yeah. If I had a scorpion, I might have had a fucking necklace.
Yeah, goat is not.
Yeah.
It's not fun.
It's fine. I cope with it. I'm like, I get it now. Like,
But it's gotta. Is there like, I don't know, some shame to it if you don't have like a sexy animal? Like do you want to do you want to be the goat at the table?
I don't think so. I think that people, because we just had a Super Bowl, and I was like, what were the teams? And someone says like the Kansas City Chiefs and the Padunkadunk 49ers or whatever. I'm like, first of all, these cities are ridiculous. Second of all, these people aren't from those cities.
They're not.
Third of all, these team names sound dumb.
Like toothless dudes like panhandling for gold is the 49ers. And the Chiefs is a Native American stereotype.
Right, but they're Chiefs.
Right, but
I mean, they're like, the Chiefs are waiting for the Indians and the Redskins and the Braves to get Me Too'd before they're like, well, we're Chiefs.
Yeah, we're a hierarchy.
There's agency. Right? we wrote up to this character. So, but anyway, sorry. We keep going off on tangents.
Here's another one. No, we're doing another one. So I watched the Super Bowl, right? I have boycotted the NFL for 2 years from the fucking Kaepernick thing, right? I watched the Super Bowl because that morning I moved into an apartment. Like my family broke up, and I just moved into this apartment on Sunday.
Your family, like you, the family of which you are the patriarch?
Yes. So 9 a.m, moving truck shows up, load all my shit in. By noon, I'm there.
This is this year?
This is the other day.
This is you today.
This is the other day. What is this, Tuesday?
You're walking in with this on your shoulders.
Yes.
To reboot a podcast, and I'm in charge
why
of...
not? Why not? And you don't have to do anything with this. We'll take another tangent. We'll get smooth off of this in just a moment. But I watched the Super Bowl through my boycott because I was like surrounded in boxes and shit, and this feeling of like awful dread, and I'm like unpacking shit, and I'm kind of like freaking out because all this is happening, and like the only entertainment I have is like an iPad, and I have YouTube TV. And I was like, I just need this right now. I just need to watch, like, while I'm doing this, fuck a boycott. Right. I need to watch what everybody else is watching. I need to have it on.
Right.
So I know that, like, life is happening.
Like, Colin would take a knee for you, and you're
so.
Right to watch the Super Bowl.
I think so.
Because his whole point is, like, there's people out there that are suffering.
You know? And I was one of them. And not from police brutality, you know?
No, from
my own, own devices.
the police of romantic entropy were kneeling on your chest.
They were, and they still are. My God. That's why I say, I just, want to talk feelings. Get feelings out. Because you've always been really good with your feelings. You've always been really good at expressing your feelings with great nuance.
Oh man, you're killing me with flattery.
Well, it's just pointing out, a thing that you're like really adept at, and I admire that, and I'm like I almost like want to mine that. Like, how did you start doing that? Was that something you've been doing all your life? Was it something you kind of found? Is it something you even consciously think about?
It is something that I have a relationship with.
Mm-hmm.
And that relationship I am conscious of. I don't know how conscious I was, or of when I'm doing whatever I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
I'll probably go to my grave obsessively trying to figure out, when am I performing? When am I trying to impress? When am I seeking approval? I think it's that clamor being lowered that makes transparency so appealing. Because one could drive oneself crazy sitting against a tree in a forest asking oneself if one is who one is.
Mm-hmm.
But once one decides that every time someone asks them a question, they're going to have a rule about whether that person gets an honest answer, then at least there's some north on the compass. It's like, because if one starts to go, well, I know rule number one is you got to be sexy. Okay, well, if rule number one is you got to be sexy, then there's a bunch of situations that aren't sexy.
Right.
And so if someone asks you a question in an interview and says like, hey, what did you do last night? And the answer is I masturbated to something horrible. Where does the slippery slope of you starting to manage your image end? And I don't mean that to say like it's not like a recourse to integrity or anything. I've given up on the idea that you can be a good person. But it's like Mark Twain had that quote about the reason he doesn't lie is because I can't remember his quote, but it's the upshot of it is the reason he doesn't lie is because he's lazy. He doesn't. It gives you less shit to keep track of.
That's very true.
If the answer remains the same for everybody, you don't have to fucking work that hard.
But I'll relate it to what you said something about me path of least resistance and flowing with things. But see, part of that with me, I think the underside of that coin is that if something's going on with me, you're not going to know about it.
But which could be integrity.
But
because if you're going through a divorce and you don't come to your podcast office and throw a cup of coffee in someone's face because they questioned you, and the reality is I'm just saying, I'm just interjecting.
Yeah, I think that if there's a spectrum of vulnerability, I feel like you're on one side and I'm on the other socially. You know what I mean? And I am like, I feel the need to have a little bit more access to myself in terms of what I give to people, so that I feel like that makes my life a little easier. If there's more of an avenue by which to let people know, hey, some shit's going on with me. I'm not going to be as even keeled as usual.
Right. Well, grass is greener on the other side of that spectrum. I feel like I wipe my ass on everyone in sight, and I don't listen to them enough.
I see.
And of course, I would be drawn to you and praise you and go, Open Mike Eagle, of course. Love that guy. Why? Because you listen. And what do? I don't listen. So it's like a plug loves a socket. You're absolutely right. There's a spectrum that can be identified there. I feel the same way you do, which is I have so much work to do on the other side of that spectrum. So take heart, because I'm pretty sure you know that the other side of the spectrum from you is a fucking blowhard.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, I mean,
but what you're saying, which I think is accurate, is you could benefit from a little bit of vitamin blowhard.
I'm in a couple kinds of therapy, and I'm a compartmentalizer, like hardcore. So I tend to leave shit like my personal life like in the car.
You would have to.
Do you have to?
Yeah, I think you have to, because I look at you as an action figure. So when I open the Mike Eagle action figure, I'm like, does this guy need compartmentalization? Yes, he does.
Well, who doesn't?
Who doesn't? Andy Dick. The Andy Dick action figure does not. Well, yeah, he could use a little, but Cobra Commander could use a little G.I. Joe loyalty. I don't know. I guess we're mixing metaphors, but I'm just saying, like, I totally get that. Like, this is the important thing is that whatever spectrum you're describing it's interesting the access whatever it shares, because I sense that about you, and I would be flattering myself to say maybe vice versa, but like your respect for me, your desire to talk to me, your willingness to connect with me is flattery to me. And when I try to put my finger on why, the only reason I can come up with is because I know that you have your options, that you listen so much, and that you are so acquiescent and so staid, so stoic, so compartmentalized that if you wanted to, you could simultaneously have value for anything I said, but also be like, who gives a fuck? I don't know. Like, so then any premium you put on me is like, I'm like, yeah, what does Open Mike want? He's so respectful to me, and he doesn't have to be. Well, he listens to everybody. So he must know I'm a bag of dicks, and he must have forgiven me for it.
I mean, I don't know. You forgive yourself, which is like a really, oh man. So I listened to you rap for hours and hours and hours, and I was sat here and I was thinking about it. Like, is there anybody in the world who's listened to you rap as much as me? You know, and I'm not sure the answer to that, but I think I got to be top 5 people on Earth. Oh
God!
You know, and this one thing that I'm continually amazed by, and it's like the reason why, like, it's really what makes me think of you as like a fucking really good rapper is that you rap a thing, you hear what you have said. And you internalize it and respond to it and like do it in the most vulnerable way possible on a beat. That's really hard to do. Like to hear the words coming out of your own mouth and that you have just said with force. You know?
right.
And it might be something insane, it might be something small, like you'll catch yourself saying things that reflect parts of yourself that you want to work on, and then you like rap about working on it.
Right.
You know, I think like that sort of high level metacognition while you're rapping. I've not seen that.
Well,
in
I'm
people.
very curious about what the alternative to that is, because I could use a little bit of that because I can't rap for more than, I don't even know the terminology, 4 bars. Like before the principle you're describing, it necessitates that the belt the belt comes off the wheel, because kind of what you're describing is that I'll basically go like, well, I went to my grandpa's house and ate some peas, and then I'm like, my brain sparks and I go, thank God I ate some peas because a million things rhyme with peas. Thank my grandpa down on my knees, and then like I'm thinking, okay, now we've built up a canon.
Right.
Like I did go to my grandpa's house and I did drop to my knees and thank him for the peas. So that suggests to me that now the next line, not because I'm a craftsman, not because I respect hip hop, not because I'm smart or stupid or anything, just how my brain works, I just automatically go, I now have to look at that and assess it and go, I'm always grateful to my grandpa for everything he gives. So now I've just ended a line with gives. And I'm like, okay, I'm a little bit lucky because some stuff rhymes with gives, not as much as it rhymes with peas. You know what I mean? And so basically it's like 4 revolutions of that fan belt and the belt's coming off, because what I will never do, and again, not because I have integrity, but because what I just don't do, because I just don't feel like freestyling is worth it. Look, if I was, I just implied I had integrity. It's not. I have friends that are so talented at that thing where what you do is you set yourself up for a rhyme.
The set up punchline, that thing.
And every time I've ever been writing lyrics to anything around any third party, there's always that really, really awkward moment. It really makes me feel really bad, because it makes me feel like a piece of shit. It's that moment when someone around me knows that from their perception, all I'm trying to do is figure out what the next line of something should be. And what they understand is that they need a word. I need a word that rhymes with nail. And they're with all of their heart and all of their pride and all of their integrity and all of their creativity, all their passion. They're just like, they'll pitch like a line. And all I can think when I hear it is, it's not, it's so off meter. Like it has to and it's that, yes, it will eventually rhyme, but that is the least of our worries.
That is. That is, but that's reflects that you're a person who actually raps, because most people don't, and they think they do. They think they understand it, but that's the first thing they do is write. They'll think 9 syllables where only 6 fit.
Well, and you end up talking like Yoda, like you thing where it's like, because I can't even riff an example. It's fast, but it's in. What I want to know from you is, what is the alternative?
Well, it sounds like you would like to be less of an observer of your own thoughts in terms of painting your way forward. Like, that's the alternative?
I guess it would be cool to have like kind of a macro compass so I could get through 30 seconds or a minute, where I don't know if it would be cool to what end, but it just seems like all I can do is rev up a chainsaw that I built myself, and it's like designed in a way that the chain's just going to fly off the saw. It's just what always happens.
But when it does, you still keep doing it, though. You know, like it's not like you stop cutting the thing.
Yeah,
you know.
Well, your definition of hero in that case. Yeah, now I'm Andy Dick. You're like, yeah, you just keep going.
Oh, but you don't keep going in a bad way. Like, you don't keep going at the expense of any of the entertainment value or craftsmanship of what you're doing. You know what I mean? Like you're. Yes, it is off the rails, but then even its off the railness becomes a topic that you can explore, right. You know, and I think the alternative is, because what we're describing, I think, is your kind of like your default, your freestyle default, and most people's freestyle default is the I'm better than you, you know, like that's most people's like on switch for rapping. It's right. Like, I'm so tight, you're so whack. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, totally.
And that's most people. And I think there are a lot of people in the world that rap that wish they had a way to find another default. Right.
What's yours? Do you have a default?
I try not to. I've freestyled for so long that like I have lots of instant associations when words come up. So that's a bit of my default on its own. It's just like me digging through my prearranged associations and because I like 3-syllable rhymes. So like I just have those like cataloged in my head for, you know, days and days and days. Because when I first started freestyling, that was the way that like me and my friends impressed each other. Right. Was like it was multisyllabic rhymes and in the craziest punchlines you could think of. So we were always trying to meld those two. You know, is to have like some really insane simile that was also a 3 or 4 syllable rhyme in which you could rattle off 3 or 4 more words that had that same rhyme structure. You know, so what that means is my default is still kind of juvenile. You know what I mean?
Juvenile in what sense?
In the sense that it's still based on what I used to impress my friends with in high school. You know what I mean?
I'm curious, though, because what you're describing is a stockpile, sort of. And we know human nature is we make tools and then we store them, we keep them within arm's reach. But we also know that no human being would be freestyling. None of us are David Blaine. We're not trying to convince anyone that we're making something up if we're not. Like, that's what a hack would do. No one's ever in an act of deception, basically.
Well, I've seen that.
Well, I mean, we call those people hacks, right? I'm assuming, because in comedy we would do that, and I'm assuming in rap we would definitely do that if someone were to go. I imagine the definitions of that must be fucking almost impossible to navigate, and probably in the end, it's probably comes from the gut. Where you're just like, I know a fucking whack ass, like pre-stocked, how did you arrive at Space Needle talking about Donald Trump? It was because you wanted to say face fetal. Not bad. But I'm curious though, because what you're describing is when does that umbilical cord start to strangle you? You describing like you're like because if you start to stack up. Yeah. You know, you know what? I'm not going to get stuck the next time I end a line with, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, but when does that become, oh shit, are you about to
it's bad.
say Minotaur again?
It's bad. Yeah, I've definitely done that. Like
But then if you stop to think, I mean, that's death. That's
that's the death I have to face when I'm like trying to be better than myself.
Fuck.
You know what I mean? Because like I have 15-year-old rhyme strings like pressed upon my brain cells.
Work. It's like,
yeah. So like when I get into a cipher, especially if I'm in a cipher with people who I've been rhyming with for years.
What does that mean? A cipher?
A cipher. People rapping in a circle.
Okay.
Or any configuration.
That's a very
group of people.
sci-fi. I didn't know that cipher.
Yeah. I don't know why it's called that.
That's
but it's
so
called
nerdy.
A cipher. It's called a cipher. We're ciphering is what we're doing. Like that's what it's called.
Hey man, you want to cipher with me?
Yo!
I don't know. Are you white?
You don't even understand how thrilling that is of a question for me.
What is a cipher?
When people say no, when somebody says, "Do you want to?" Fuck yeah, I want to cipher with
cipher.
Absolutely.
Like what? It's like techno.
It is
steampunk.
Weirdly scientific for no apparent reason.
Hey man, you want a catalog? you want a technocrat? Anyway, sorry.
So what did you? So that makes it sound like. So you don't know what the word cipher means. It means you don't wrap around a lot of people.
Well,
probably.
I have a relationship with the word cipher, by the way,
but a different, of course.
Yeah,
probably
in a writer's room sense. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
What is it?
We refer to we use the word cipher in writers' rooms to refer to characters that are basically sounding boards. So if we have a rule in writing stories where we chart a course by show, don't tell.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you're just explaining to people, oh, I'm going through a divorce and my child used to love me, but now they don't. It's like you're guilty of tell, don't show.
Exposition.
So you because obviously it's a visual medium. So a cipher, we go like, oh, well, she's a cipher for him. It's like a wall to bounce a racquetball off.
I see.
So like she's ciphering him or something like that. Like it would go like, oh well, the Ben Stiller character will take her out for a hot dog, and then she can be a cipher for him to explain that he wishes he was Iron Man.
I see.
That anyways, because she's kind of she's a key to a code, right?
Right. She unlocks the code, basically. Okay, so I'm gonna break this now. Because we're being heady. I want to go back to Feelings Town.
Yeah. Yeah, I took it into weird fucking brain.
Look, that's who we are. It's who we are.
Thank you.
You know, like, but I'm trying to.
It's not closed mic.
It ain't
podcast.
It's not.
It's fucking open.
That's right.
I can deal with it, Harmon.
I'm gonna get more open. So we were talking about vulnerability and the spectrum of it. Your relationship with vulnerability, does it have, in your purview, any correlation to like success as in creative exploits? Like,
yes.
What is the relationship between?
Almost one for one.
Hmm.
Only recently diminished because culture has changed, and it turns out. Yeah, the vulnerability was the spinach that Popeye reached for.
Huh.
It was the answer to every question.
Wow.
Now that included any question of like, well, what should this episode of the sitcom be about? Oh, well, let's make it about me.
Right.
I poop my pants once. I masturbate to this. I was like, hey, ladies, what do you think about masturbation? We've now lived through this shifting time where it's like every weapon that you would ever use, any crutch you would ever use, it's like it doesn't have to be good or bad, but it's bad if it's like this thing that becomes all you use. Mm-hmm. And so the answer to your question is, from the age of 6, I don't know, to 40, vulnerability was my go-to. I had learned during my developmental relationships with society, online, anything, rooms full of people. If I go to a party and I'm never going to be the guy that people are like interested in or getting a beer for because they can tell he knows how to climb a rock. And before I could walk into a room and people would see my face, and then there would be like a QR code in their head. It's like, well, that's Dan Harmon. I should be nice to him. There was an in-between space where it's like, well, I need to make these people understand that I'm exceptional.
And that was the driving force.
And the shortcut I detected very early on in improv and sketch and stuff in Milwaukee was, God, it was like a monkey finding Flint Rock. And like, I look back on it now and I go, God, you know, like you could have done so much more with that. But like back then I would just be like, I would get on stage in an improv show and I would just evoke details of getting hit by my parents, and people had a pornographic relationship with that. It would titillate them. They would say, well, that's unmistakably real. Therefore, that's funny. And what's funny about it is that you shouldn't use that here. You shouldn't be proud of that. You shouldn't be saying that here. This is a PG show. There's 30 people here. They paid $1. Why are you doing this? Why are you crying? Why are you talking about this? And I got addicted to that. I got addicted to the inappropriate level of transparency. I became an evangelist about, you know what? I think if all of us just, and I would think back then, this is insane. I would think, as an early adopter of what we now call the internet, I see an age coming, and I was not a hero. I was not being brave. I was thinking, I was like a Bitcoin investor. I was like, these motherfuckers don't get it. Like, they don't get that one day all of us are going to operate on a currency of honesty. That I'm going to be king. And that actually we're going to be ashamed of how ashamed we were. And I immediately, as soon as, like, no, we transitioned into a world where it's like, no, every idiot in the world is on the internet. That means that the internet is stupid. That means that dishonesty has come to the internet. That means that if you did a sketch where you raped a baby 20 years ago, you are now like, you have to either defend it,
right,
or deny it, or embrace it. Like, your transparency Bitcoin is worth not only nothing, but it's actually like your cancer.
Yeah.
And like all of your pursuit of honesty, I nothing was more like kind of full circle for me than seeing at one point somebody sent me a thing on 4chan. It was like, like these 4chan guys, like they were like, this is Dan Harmon's entire MySpace blog.
Oh no.
So they were basically going like, this is Dan Harmon when he was our age. This is Dan Harmon's Anne Frank diary when he was as angry, as white, as misogynist, as like, but they were going like, scour this thing for the N-word, scour this thing for the C-word, right. Scour this thing, because what we want to do to this guy is we want to say, hey man, like, don't be a fucking hypocrite. Like, just because you're 40 and you have money, don't parade around and say you're woke. Because when it paid your emotional rent, to say women are bitches, like, or tell some, blog some story about, that resonates with what we would now call incels, you were doing that, and you were doing that because it serviced you. And the message I took away from that was like, you're right. All I have ever done is wanted people to love me, and I've moved from a hermit shell to hermit shell, and so like, what was your question? That should be okay. I don't want to affect the reboot of your podcast, but one pitch title is, what was your question?
That was great. That was great.
I can't remember what we were talking about.
We're talking about the
you were
relationship.
talking about the relationship with vulnerability.
And-
I would say, I have an urge to come clean about this, which is like vulnerability was just like any fucking child's tool that I found. Like Jeffrey Dahmer found squirrel bones. Some other kid found a Xanax that his parents left crushed up on the coffee table. Like, you find what you find as a kid that
works,
that
does it for you,
gives you. It's like a gazelle femur you can use to smash a skull to slurp delicious brains out of. We're fucking primates.
It's another title possibility.
And for me, transparency and honesty. So, clearly, if I had been committed to them, I'd be fighting a war right now. Instead, I'm in my garage going like, oh, people don't like me. I'll just.
Well, so what do you? That's my question. Like, what do you do now? Like, if that's the case, and like you said, the age has shifted, and vulnerability is a lot more dangerous.
It's vulnerability now. There was a time when it was like it had an artificial value on it.
Wow.
It was sort of like there was a put option on it, and it was like, oh, vulnerability, I'll take 9 pounds of that. And now it's like, oh, that makes you vulnerable. That was my outrage.
So what is life like? So it sounds like you have to protect yourself now.
I have an urge to. I don't want to say I have to because I don't want to make a mistake.
Are you not doing it?
For sure, not doing it.
You're not protecting
Definitely
yourself.
Oh no, I am protecting myself in that I am no longer vulnerable online.
I know, like, it's like, even you were like, I was at the last Harmon town and you were explaining why it was that you were ending it, and I think that was part of the answer too, as you were saying it, like, this used to be helpful for me to like come bare it all,
and possibly for other people too,
right? And I mean, it seems like it could very well still be useful for people, but it seems like it's less useful for you.
Yeah. I undoubtedly there's going to be a point where I am compelled to do that again, but the whole point of it will be that in my mind I have a different attitude about it. Because there was a momentum and an energy. It was always the easy thing, the path of least resistance. Like, if I'm going to speak into a microphone to strangers and I'm going to equalize the room and confront them and say, like, here's the deal. If as in any room where one person has a microphone and everyone else doesn't, we all know the rules. Mm-hmm. If this person starts to fucking bore you, you're dead.
Right.
Like, that should be. And my therapy was like, yeah, so I don't have stand up. I'm going to complain, basically. I'm going to stick my thumb in my mouth and I'm going to say, I'm a baby. Why can't I continue to be a baby? Why can't I just poop where I'm standing? What's the deal? And that would, to lose the metaphor and get specific, that would take the form of me saying, well, who are these people that are always constantly telling you your shoes are untied? That was like my classic thing. It was a real beef that I had. Was like, I didn't believe that people would tell you your shoes are untied. I don't believe them. I don't believe that they're saying that because they're afraid you're going to trip.
Right. They don't really care
excited. I think they're so deprived of agency that they're excited. They've become agents of conformity, and they see an untied shoelace and they're pollinating your shoe like a bee. They want to tie your shoe. Wow. I still believe that a little bit, but the thing that's changed is I do not consider that worth complaining. That is not a charismatic thing to be talking about after Ferguson. That is not a charismatic thing to be talking about after the 2016 election, period. That's not a charismatic thing to be talking about. And when I say charismatic, I mean in my own view, not to a bunch of people who I hate. And I want to be clear, I fucking hate everybody these days. Like, I kind of like have lost faith in all of them. But like, I look, you know, I'm like, yeah, man, like that's not cool. Like,
Right.
I don't want to listen to a 45-year-old man like complaining about Star Wars right now. Not now.
Not now.
It's not a matter of high roading anybody. It's not a matter. It's just like, it's for the same reason. Like, if I went into my walk-in closet as a rich person and had 1 million outfits laid out for me by 1,000 docile servants, and all of them were invested with the task of choosing a option for a look for me, I would just walk down the line, and among the things that I would bypass would be outfits that said rape is hilarious. I'd be like, well, I don't want to wear that.
Right. You don't want to wear it, not even just in the physical sense. You just don't want to wear it.
Yeah, and it's not even it's like the question of whether I don't want to wear that because I care about other human beings or because I have an internal dialogue with myself is almost moot, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because isn't the most important conversation you're having with yourself when you go like, I don't feel like wearing that. I don't think that I don't want to wear a shirt that says it's all about me, and anyone that doesn't understand that can go fuck themselves, in a world where the internet has revealed to us that attitude could possibly be the fucking thing that makes a difference between Nazis walking the street and going back to their parents' basement.
I want to talk a little bit about failure through the lens of mine.
Right. Well, we'll need to use your lens. I'm not familiar with what topic.
I love you. So like last year, I had 2 TV shows on. I had one on Comedy Central, another on VRV. They both got very unceremoniously canceled after the seasons. It's weird too, because like the VRV one kind of popped up out of nowhere, and the thing I kept begging them to do is to not put it on at the same time as the Comedy Central one, and I think they both premiered like the same day. You know what I mean? It was really fucking stupid. I was thinking about. I'm new to any like TV film. I've been in rap, and I've been in like low stakes rap my whole career.
Low stakes rap.
Yeah, like yes.
That's your title.
It's
no, it's not your title. That's a dumb title.
But
I
like
love
it though.
that.
But it is my
Low
address.
stakes rap.
That is my address. Like that is what I have been steeped in.
It is. I mean, there's
the
an
teabag
integrity
of
to
low
it.
stakes
I'm
rap.
like, if somebody said, do you guys want to hear West Coast, East Coast, New Jack, Dirty South? Low stakes? I want to hear low stakes rap.
And that term to me I use mostly economically. Like I've been on very small labels. I've never I've never been on a label that had more than like 2 employees. You know what I mean? It's always like one guy and then maybe he had an assistant. You know what I mean? Like that's every label I've ever been on.
You could have a Jeff Foxworthy test where you're like, if your intern is giving you notes on your first cut, you're a low stakes rapper.
Right. You might be. I might be signed to you. But I come from having a lot of creative autonomy, nobody to answer to, and full license to make whatever choices I want to make. And that it worked out pretty well, you know. The difference being if you're Drake and you make the wrong decision, people at Universal might lose their jobs. You know what I mean? I never faced any kind of pressure like that. So I just do my own thing. So from that, I'm now tangentially, peripherally in this comedy TV world, right? the failures of that, they hit me very differently. Like in ways that are like I'm gonna tell you a story. I wrote a script with a guy. We ended up selling that script to a network. The network bought it, paid for us to do one rewrite. They ultimately passed on it because they wanted to do something similar, which bothers me because it was a hip hop thing, and they were like, "Oh, we already got this other hip hop thing." It was like there can only be one. It was that. It really fucking bugged me. This other company wants to buy it. So we're like, fuck, that's awesome. We're gonna pay for the same script 3 times. It's fucking amazing. And the scale of money is like there. I would have to have sold an unimaginable amount of albums to make what I made off of the first time we sold that script.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like just the scale is crazy. Just streaming music money is nothing. It's nothing. Other company wants to buy it. Me and my co-writer and the production company, we're like arguing over some pennies for too long. The company has a leadership change. They no longer want anything to do with it. It's all right. This thing that I think is really good, okay, it's just sitting now. But now, the billboards for the show that the original network passed on our show because they wanted to do that show.
Mm-hmm.
Those billboards all over town right now. And like, I am so fucking sensitive that like every time I see one, I get really angry. And it's like not the kind of anger you can tell people about.
No, you can't.
Because it's very petty.
Yeah.
You know, it's very.
You're going to be telling one of two categories of people: people who are going to respond with "must be nice,"
Right.
and people who are going to respond with "who the fuck do you think you are?"
But so as a creative, what do you do with that? What do you do with that very intense feeling that it is very not appropriate to express or share, but you actually feel it?
Oh man.
Like, what do you do with that?
Fuck. I mean, two answers. Like, I'm 47 now, so I don't practice what I'm about to preach.
Interesting.
But like a younger version of me would have practiced this, but I don't necessarily know if it's the best advice. I fight that war on two fronts. I never look back. I got baptized by fire out here, same as you did. Like your sanity becomes dependent on detaching yourself from outcome. Like it will continue to hurt, but you just have to make this autistic decision to be like, well, for instance, if I'm a writer, then my job ends the day I deliver a script. If I want to care more about the documents I write, then I'm saying I want to be a director. But I don't want to be a director because directors are the people that I hand these scripts to and they fuck them up. So like I start to identify myself, and this is a dangerous game with the quality of the document that I hand off to somebody. I mistake that for integrity. I go like, it doesn't matter what Sony's going to do with this once I deliver it. My job is to make sure that this document is sound. And then, like a spider that spins a web and sits there and doesn't catch any flies, you don't blame the flies, you don't blame the place you spun the web, you don't blame your ass, you fucking climb away.
Right.
And you never look back. And I typically, unless I'm super drunk, I won't watch Community. I don't watch Rick and Morty.
Really?
I'll have like weird Sunset Boulevard moments where I'm like, I'll be like in a blackout drunk, basically. Like I'll like watch an episode of something I've done. It's like so my answer to you is like, partly toxic because I don't think it's the right. It's like it's almost like an abused child's response, which is to say you have to learn to love the pain.
But you
don't give them the power over your flesh.
But isn't okay? So I guess that's reflective of it genuinely being a toxic environment. in some sense.
I mean, that's part of why my advice might be bad, because it doesn't include like the possibility, as the young creative should maybe invest themselves with today, of like maybe the environment needs to change, which could involve making your own website and fucking like using Venmo and Pubo and Pooby Doobs to Doobie Dobs to like create your own brand and run your own industry. I'm coming from a world where it's like this world is run by Sony and Fox and Universal,
Disney,
and if I connect my self-worth to how they react to a thing that I have decided is either good or bad, I have signed up for insanity. I have signed up for chaos. I need to be able to observe a document I wrote and say, I'm handing you my best definition of like a Slinky movie. And then I go, it's yours. Like, you bought it. You paid me, as you pointed out, an exorbitant sum. It beats fucking food service work. And then you like, then the other half of that is that I just keep moving on.
Right.
So it's like disconnection from outcome, and then number 2 is like prolific output. I think both of those things though are like, that's coping. It's enabling. That's something you would hear similar answers from an abused housewife.
Yeah, well,
she's like, oh, how do I deal with James hitting me? Well,
Right.
I bring him a cup of coffee and I remind myself that he only hit me because I let him down. I don't know. Like there's a familiar. So I don't believe I have the answers, but that's my honest answer.
I mean, it's funny because I don't, even without having heard you say that before right now, what I found myself doing after last year, because that shit really because to me the problem was the roller coaster of it all, because honestly, the whole shit is cherry on top. I'm not supposed to be anywhere near any of this. You know what I mean? Like I've been working toward being at the top of the low stakes rap pile for like most of my adult life.
The king of low stakes rap.
King of low stakes rap. So like I may not be that, but I'm like damn close to it, and that's all I ever wanted. And like my motivation to be involved in TV shit was always just to like make music easier, like to raise my visibility, to make it easier to make whatever music I want to make, and make it easier for my booking agent to book me, make it easier to get like a better record deal.
So like your vision of an ideal world for you, if it's like you have like a workshop where you're like generating music and like growing a farm.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if that's I think ideally I am pursuing many creative pursuits that all kind of deal with my worldview, you know what I mean, and what I consider to be kind of odd story on Earth. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know too many people who've like had a similar path to me, I would say. And I feel like that informs how I make rap music.
Mm-hmm.
And I think in this other realm, it informs my creativity there too. And because I have seen some success there, it does make me want to continue to pursue that too. I am just trying to figure out how to grow some armor, I guess, because like I was saying, when we got in this position to have this success, like me and everybody around me, management, agents, are all like, oh shit, like this is gonna be the thing. Like they, like nobody even wanted to like do anything else. We have to wait and see what happens.
You're right.
And then nothing fucking happened.
Right.
Shit came and went. 2 shows came and fucking went. Like, and I I guess I was just so high on the potential. You know what I mean? That like there was nothing that prepared me for nothing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
So, and like I said, even without having heard you say that, man, I ran back into the studio. I ran back to podcasting. I ran back to my merch company.
Mm-hmm.
Like I ran back to shit that I can control.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Where are you from again?
Chicago.
Yeah, Midwest.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So the Midwest understands.
That's the 13th zodiac. The Midwest.
The Midwesterner says, like, it's almost toxic. But then again, when you look at today's world, you go, well, is it toxic? Because, goddamn, what if you believe in yourself so much that you don't fucking work really hard? But but it's important to recognize that we are obsessed with deprivation. We're obsessed with finance. We're obsessed with poverty, impoverishment. Like my therapist said to me at one point, because I was like, I was misinterpreting my bank accounts, and I was like actually feeling like, I was like, I think actually I may have accidentally spent all my money. I don't know. I'm having an anxiety attack. And she's like, what's your relationship with money? And I'd be like, no, my parents are total tightwads. That's the reason why I don't give a fuck about money. And she's like, yeah, but you're not seeing a similarity here. Your parents thought about money a lot, and you're thinking about money a lot. You're thinking about money a lot when you're like making it rain all over your own world. And when it's a zero-sum game between, and this is where the Midwest thing comes in. What I relate to what you're saying, and maybe I'm putting words in your mouth, but it's like the biggest nightmare of all you and I have is some future, whether it's 5 years, 5 weeks, 10 years, 20 years from now, like there is some reckoning where you or I are under a bridge, warming our hands over a trash barrel, and someone says to us, what's your deal?
What happened?
And we say, we have to shamefully tell them, well, I wrote Monster House, but I didn't see the opportunity and the branding, or I didn't save my money. I think it's very Midwestern.
And
it's very Irish. It's this idea of the American gene pool and psychology is like, we're so Irish. We're such an Irish country.
Mm-hmm.
It's this idea of, if there's $1 on the floor and you don't grab it, you may as well have set it on fire. and if you set it on fire, you're gonna get charged $2 for being a money burner. Like you are so responsible for your well-being, and the day will come when you are fucking poor, and it's gonna be your fault. You're gonna have to gnash your teeth, and it's not the poverty that will hurt you. It's the fact that you did it to yourself, you piece of shit, you horrible human being. How could you, while the sun was shining, not make hay? How dare you? Whew. How dare you, you insolent fucking profligate piece of garbage? How dare you not accept this fucking charity of life? That girl said she liked you at the malt shop. Why didn't you arrange some kind of like thing where she gave you a quarter every time she liked you? now you gotta eat the fucking off-brand peanut butter. You know why? Because you don't fucking hustle. It is. I don't have an aspirin for it.
Yeah, no.
Other than becoming a millionaire. But except, well, this may be aspirin for you, which is that like I just told you, fucking became a millionaire, and I just felt that shit last Wednesday because my app wasn't showing me the right bank account.
Damn.
And I immediately assumed
that you would
that I
shit the
fucked
bed.
up.
Yeah.
That it was my fault. That I'm a bad person. That I think wrong. That I value things wrong. That every day when I get up out of bed, I'm a fucking like wrong thinker.
Wow.
I can't offer you a cure, but I can offer you like fucking like goddamn, that's a cancer that everyone like. Failure. It's not the it's not your past failure, it's your future failure that you're thinking about because you're sitting here and you're happy.
Yeah, I'm okay. It ain't the happiest week of my life.
It's not like you're signing off on every thing that's led to this moment.
Right.
But you're not currently like fighting off vampire bats with like a hot poker going like, God damn. But like, it's we were always going to have like a chain of increasing regrets about, but like the curse is that we think about the future. Like we're like, oh, I'm responsible for like winning this game.
I think about the past more.
Really?
Yeah, because I think like I am part. Okay, this is part of the compartmentalizing thing with me. Is I don't have a lot of outlets for anger. I don't, and like that's so like my therapist has reminded me like I make fucking rap music and I should like put it in there.
Wait, I want to picture your therapist. Is it?
It's a woman. It's she's short bob haircut.
I gotta know the race.
She's a white woman.
A white woman. Yeah. So she's like, but open mic. You're a rapper. You have the ultimate outlet for your anger.
Well,
I'm not.
Well, you know what? Because to be fair to her, the context of the conversation we brought it up in was about like my feelings around my family splitting up and how part of my compartmentalization is that I don't feel my feelings all the way. That's part of why, I walk in with shit and you don't realize anything's wrong because I'm not all the way feeling it until like I'm by myself. You know what I mean? So in all of the therapy work that we're doing to get me more in touch with my feelings, she's like, hey, you're really lucky. You have a fucking creative outlet that like people don't have, so like put some of the shit in there. Like, oh yeah. That's.
Do you do that regularly?
No,
I mean, like
I'm starting to now, but I didn't do it much before. And when I did do it, it wasn't very conscious before.
This is probably a bad baptism for you though, because if you're a father and the family, so you're gonna have a lot of shame. Like you're gonna. Yes. The whole point that you're describing is that like. It would just be a lot easier for you if you were 25 and you were like, okay, now I'm finally going to start rapping about how I'm a compulsive masturbator. That would be an easier first step to take than you being like, because obviously I don't have to tell you as a man, a divorcee, that you're probably fucking with themes of patriarchy and whatever your relationship with your dad was. Like that in some ways, your definition of what a man is supposed to do and what a father is supposed to do, and therefore for you humility goes way beyond the adorable 25-year-old version of humility, which is like I can't tie my shoes right, and goes into I let someone else down. The idea of being a bad dad, a bad husband.
All of those sorts of terrible things that you don't want to talk about that I'm putting in the music.
Open mic, the otherwise known as compartmentalized mic, is about to go from perfect fucking dollhouse squares to absolute.
I mean, and it'll never be as graphic as maybe like if you did it, you know what I mean? Like if you were in the same position as me and you wanted to make a rap album about it, it would probably be a lot more detailed.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, what's it, like Will Smith going, it never worked out between me and your mom, but I remember listening to that going, well, that's, there's other ways to express that don't involve actually addressing your like, there's deeper ways to like.
Yeah, like ways to actually say it in a way that actually includes some space for feelings, like in emotions and real things that took place rather than this aseptic way to say it.
Not trying to craft a narrative. I think that's the trap that one would fall into if one were like, I'm gonna talk about what a piece of shit I am or what a saint I am, and both are committing the same fault, which is like actually like what happened and how do I feel?
This is the thing. I'm not saying what happened. I'm just saying how I feel.
Right, exactly.
Only saying
you don't have to give the street address. You can just like.
Precisely, because that's the therapeutic part of it. Like saying what happened doesn't help me at all. You know what I mean?
It also won't relate to random
Exactly. Well, it's some people it will.
Yes. You could be the DMX of divorces.
DMX of divorces. Shit.
Or you could be the
that's good.
the Michael Jackson of alienation. I mean, like, and it won't matter what crimes anyone thinks they committed, because it's like that your personal feelings about whatever you're feeling. Yeah, like I think that's the idea. Is like your toilet is your toilet. It's so personal. Who wants a photo of your toilet?
Yeah, nobody needs that.
Everyone's toilet is connected to a sewer, and I
was going there.
Nah, yeah,
I was with you.
Yeah, but you were with me at the wrong time, because it was just when I realized I'm just talking out of my ass.
All right, that was me. That was some shit I wanted to get off.
Did I help?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Because this is the thing, like, it really helps me to speak about matters like that with people who absolutely understand the feeling that I'm talking about. Like, absolutely understand that. You like understand what it feels like, especially if it was like your first couple years in the business, and like what that billboard, what you would feel when you randomly looked up and you saw that billboard. Like before you had the armor, before you had the disconnect, before you crawled away from the web as practice. You know what I mean? So it's even if you don't all the way think that was good advice, it was very helpful to hear that there's a kind of toolkit for that. Even if you don't think those are the best tools, you know?
Yeah. I mean, nothing's more horrifying than a rash on your arm that like is purple and has a weird shaped bump, and then like it's medicinal before the internet says that's probably cancer. For anybody to say, what is it, horseshoe shaped or whatever, you're like, I'll be goddamn, I guess I never looked at it that way.
Mm-hmm.
It is horseshoe shaped, and they're like, it's called Look-a-dooba-dooba-doo, and like giving it a name, and
that's also the name of my production company.
There is this, like, even in the darkest of shit that has no solution, there's still this like this medicine in someone going like, oh, that's a thing for sure. You're describing tennis elbow. You're describing fraud complex. You're describing this, and then you personally get to deal with it however you want.
Absolutely.
Because part of what people are saying me is like, I don't know how to fucking deal with it. It's called a bunion. It fucking hurts. I've never figured it out. And then you're like, okay, that throne's empty.
Right.
I think I'll be the pioneer of that.
You know, I'm going to be figured out on behalf of low stakes rappers who try to do TV. Like that's, I'll be the pioneer of that. You know, I'll take those lumps, but you know, figure why I had you here.
Well, I'll tell you, man, in no glibness and with no pressure. Like I honestly like. I just like talking to you. It does a lot for me. Like I like connecting with you. Man. So like what you rebooting your podcast. Like fucking text me and I'm here. Like I you know, like for real. Like,
I appreciate that, man. And I appreciate you coming and doing this too. You know, this is it's I meet a lot of people. And I talk to a lot of people. And like you kind of said, I listen to a lot of people, right? I have this thing, though, in my head that I've really come to identify as one of my little personal issues. I have a lot of conversations with people, especially because I had a podcast before. I would, like, interview people, and I would fuck around and think we were friends. And then, like I'd have to realize, like, oh, no, we're not fucking friends. I just, like, just ask that guy about his career for an hour and a half. We're not fucking friends. But, like, since we met, and I remember, like, that first time after I did Harmontown, and we just kind of, like, sat upstairs in the old, like, the castle.
Yeah.
And we were just fucking drinking and talking. I'm like, oh, think me and Dan are actually friends.
Well, that means a lot to me.
It means a lot to me too,
I
man.
feel the same way because I meet people and I'm like, it's nothing on them.
Yeah.
I always feel like it's like, oh, you don't. I don't know. I feel like it's like I would just use the word autistic, where I'm just like, I'm gonna keep meeting a bunch of people, and I don't know. I really like, I connect with you. I like talking to you. Like, you are a creature of empathy and honesty, and I really appreciate that, and like not only want to reward it, but it's its own reward to like fucking come back to it. So I guess that's what they call friendship.
Hey, man, works for me.
Where whatever you want, like, that involves like hanging out with you, which that's called friendship. Like,
Well, shit.
Just I'll I could come in as like a Speedy McFeely to your podcast and be like, I got a letter.
you gotta wear the. Did he wore like the little the shorts like the guy from AC/DC? Did he wear those little shorts, little mailman shorts?
Yeah, it's like a little Boy Scout outfit,
good.
kind of.
That's good. I could never pull that off.
I'll tell you, a children's show with a character named McFeely wouldn't get off the desk these days.
No.
That's why. That's one of the many reasons Mr. Rogers was a hero.
That name would certainly be changed.
Yeah.
But thank you for allowing me the space to say all these things in no particular order, and thanks for giving your genuine feedback to him. And I think without having something structured, this feels like a very good template as a way to like kick this thing off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let me know. Let me know how I can help it anyway.
All right, I will.
I'm kind of semi-retired. I'm just going to be in my garage making wood.
Table saws. I meant to ask you about that, but we'll talk about that later.
All right.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching that, and if you dug that, leave a thumbs up and say what up in the comments, and make sure to subscribe to Stony Island Audio for more.